An error that can sometimes throw us off, or misconception concerning other people, is that the person that I am dealing with is interested in well being, be it their own, my own, or anybody else's. Why is that a common mistake? Well, we see that we may naively suppose it to be the case that the sole actual motivation of individuals, perhaps ourselves included, is that which we would have it to be, meaning that which we pretend it to be, which is basically pro social, cooperative, and such. Right? Aside from those of us that are either uncommonly honest or have lost our marbles or something along those lines, if we're asked why we do what we do, we tend to cite some kind of social sounding reason, some kind of nice sounding reason. For example, I want to, be successful to contribute to the society. I want to help my family. I want to make the world a better place, something like this. That is the norm. But the reality is that there are many psychological states concerning which the very last thing on one's mind is anything to do with cooperation, is anything to do with anybody's improvement, is anything to do with anybody's well being, again, one's own included. What are some of those psychological states? Well, let's say that I feel threatened, say physically. The one thing that naturally and normally I want to do is to feel safe, right? That might involve fleeing, that might involve fighting, that might involve just immediately perceiving the threat as an object that needs to be destroyed immediately, whatever the nature of that threat, which might be just in my head, right? It's somebody that maybe a kid is just learning to drive, or a teenager, and they do something bad on the road, and I assume automatically this is evil incarnate that is trying to terminate me, and I fly into a road rage. Right? So all these states of mind are totally unrelated to well-being, to happiness, to cooperation, to anything like that. What are some other examples? Let's say power, right? To feel that the external conforms to me, to my desires. That is a tremendous drive of so many of us, and perhaps to all of us to some or another extent. That in itself, that pure desire for power, is unrelated in and of its own self to anything but itself, it does seem. It is certainly not related to looking out for our neighbor, for the society, and so forth. Similar, similarly, the desire for superiority. I just want to be superior. I just want to win, and that's it. And I don't even care if I damage myself necessarily. I don't care if I end up sick eventually, and ill and injured. I don't care if I end up in prison, maybe because of my financial crimes. I don't care what happens. I just want to win. I just want to be superior. It just really sucks to lose and to be a nobody and a nothing and to be squashed. That state of mind also has nothing to do with concern for others. We get the point. All of that. So there's probably a number of other such states of mind. I am, let's say, physically aggravated, and the one thing that I would like to do is to calm that aggravation. That's it. Nothing to do with anything else. I'm starving, for example, and the one thing that I want to do is to eat. It's said that a fairly common thing back in the day when there was no Coast Guard and GPS and such, it would be that if sailors were stranded, they would, for example, do a little lottery to see who would be eaten ultimately. So I may be a nice guy or girl, but when push comes to shove, and the question is starvation and that horrible, painful feeling that just builds in our stomach inside when we go without food, all bets can be off. So, with that in mind, we can hopefully gain some insight concerning much human activity. Much of what is done, perhaps the majority, if we're going to be perfectly honest, is done out of those actual motivations. And they are simply uh, put under the guise of something other than them. We care about the goodness and the beauty and the truth and the health of the world and the population. No, chances are what is being done because the individual and or individuals in question just want to win or want to feel superior or want to satisfy these base emotions. I want to get you. I want to be above somebody. I want to dominate somebody, something like this. I want something from you, right? I want profit, something along those lines. Now, in response to that, we could either get cynical and say, oh, look at how bad people are and how bad the world is, or we could start with seeing that in ourselves, because that's where it starts. It doesn't end there, but it starts there. And if I see that in myself, then first of all, I that much less likely to be played by others, and because I can acknowledge their true motives, because I acknowledge my own true motives. I acknowledge that I only do things, for example, for profit. So if somebody calls me offering a free cruise, I understand there must be strings attached. Nobody offers things for free in the sense of no strings attached, aside from saintly people that are probably not selling cruises. All right, so we get the point. I'm that much less likely to be played, but also, most importantly, I gain the possibility of improving myself, right? And of not being part of the problem. And that's really the ultimate solution. The world is what it is. It has been what it was. It is what it is. It will be what it will be. Ultimately, the only question is me. Will I change? Will I continue to be part of the problem my whole life until I die along with the problem, which will persist past me? Or will I correct myself? And if I have any little dot of motivation purer than any of the aforementioned ones that is genuinely concerned with well being, be it of my own, starting with my own and then of others, then take that little dot and try to widen it, try to broaden it as much as possible. So that's the idea. Thank you for listening.